This week, Sony added 3 new games to the PlayStation Plus Premium tier, Sly Cooper 2 and 3, as well as Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy. The interesting thing about Jak 1, which I'm going to focus on in this video, is that it was already available on PS4 as a PS2 classic, as well as on PS3 and PlayStation Vita as a part of the HD trilogy. So what this means is, as of December 10th, there's 2 versions of Jak and Daxter 1 listed for PS4 and a new version for PS5. So just to make sense of all of these different versions, the PS2 version is the original, and then on PS3 and Vita, Sony released the HD trilogy, which was a remastered bundle of all 3 of the main Jak games. And then on PS4, they added a PS2 Classics version of Jak 1, 2, and 3, which were emulated versions of the PS2 games. And then lastly, this new version is a PS4 and PS5 version, which is also a PS2 emulator version. These latest iterations available on PS4 and PS5 through PlayStation Plus, which you can also buy a la carte. These are developed by Implicit Conversions, who's been doing all of the PS5 classics for PlayStation Plus. So their versions of these games include all the rewind and save state features, as well as remappable controls, all that good stuff. So right out of the bat, this is quite an improvement versus the original PS4, PS2 classic format games, which are just the old games emulated out of the box with very little in terms of modern quality of life features, CRT filters, customizable controls, stuff like that. And because the PS3 was a remaster, it is not cross-buy, but the PS4, PS2 classic version is cross-buy with this new version if you bought that one outright. So you should have the PS5 version and this new PS4 version with Rewind available in your library. These new versions also have a new trophy list because the previous PS3 Vita and PS4 classic versions all had the same trophy list, so that's kind of interesting. So they actually made some new trophies. But with all that said, I wanted to take a closer look at these versions because it's not often you get 2 versions of the same game on a system, let alone 2 versions of an emulator on a home console. One tiny thing is that the store listing has a different description and the game icon is actually sharper. I guess PS5 store listings need a higher resolution image for 4K screens versus PS4 only needed 1080p. Very minor thing, but it is something I noticed. So I screen captured the PS2 original. I got some screen capture of the PS3 HD collection because I don't have that myself. And then I screen captured the PS4 version before this new PlayStation Plus Premium version came out, just in case they patched that version to be the new one. But that wasn't the case, so now there's 2 PS4 versions. And then I screen captured the new PS4 version and the new PS5 version. I'm leaving out the Vita version in this case because generally the Vita version just runs really crappily and is not a great way to play these games. Right out of the box, the PS3 version, which has typically been said to be the best versions of these games, still looks the best because it was a HD remaster and it was actually natively running at 720p, which was typical for PlayStation 3 games. And the company Mass Media developed that port back in the day, but they're owned by 2K Games now, so I guess Sony doesn't really have the option to work with them anymore. But after that, all the versions on PS4 and PS5 now are all running emulators and therefore are running the original games, which you could say is a good thing, but they're also running the games at 480i because that's what the PS2 ran them at. Performance seems to be a smooth 60 FPS across the board for every version of this game, except for the Vita version, which I mentioned is just pretty infamous for how poorly it performed. One fun thing about all the existing ports of this game, including the new ones, which I just tested, is you can access the debug menu. So just wanted to confirm you're still able to do that in these new ports of the game. In the case of Jak 1, this only made it slightly easier to platinum the game in the previous PS4 version. I'm not sure how that will work with the new trophy list. I haven't taken a super close look at it, but just wanted to confirm that you can still access the debug menu. Some previous issues with these PS2 emulated games on PS5 that I've pointed out in a previous video, such as in Tomb Raider Legend, is that they're running these games pretty much at 480i. They say there's upscaling, but there's really not a whole lot going on. And I think by upscaling, generally they just mean that the signal is technically 4K, but the game is still running at its original 480i. Just to see what was possible, I also tried playing Jak 1 on PCSX2, which is a PC emulator for PS2 games, and I was able to run this at 4K, 60 FPS. And honestly, this is what I would expect the PS5 version of this game to run at. I do have quite a powerful PC, but I think PS5 is pretty close in specs to this thing. And this PS3 footage that I'm using is actually a downloaded YouTube video of PS3 gameplay, and it still looks sharper than this latest version we got on PS5. I recorded this in 4K 60 FPS. I guess it's okay because it is the original version, but it is still kind of disappointing considering how much power the PS5 has. Yeah, I just would have expected a little bit more, honestly. Especially after seeing the PC emulated version of what this could be, it just doesn't look very good. Push Square actually had an article pointing out that Sly Cooper was actually patched and has a slightly better rendering resolution now on the PS5 version, but it doesn't look like that's the case on Jak 1 to me. But I was pixel peeping side by side and it all looked the same to me. I'm sure the emulation quality just varies game by game, case by case, but I also know that on the Implicit Conversions Discord, they do have a bugs and feedback channel, but it seems to be moving at a snail's pace over there. I'm sure they're more focused on bringing new ports to the platform, which brings me into my last point, which is also kind of weird. If they're focused on newer games, why are they porting Jak 1 again if it's already available? And it makes me wonder why they even bothered with Jak, because there's so many games that aren't available on PS4 even. Like most of the Ratchet & Clank series is not available on PS4, but you can already play every Jak game on PS4 and therefore PS5. So kind of lazy and weird that they're just re-releasing games that are already available. Sure, the Rewind is nice, but they already were bringing it back like Daxter and Lost Frontier, so the whole series was available. So people like me played through the whole series with these previous versions. So another version just kind of doesn't make sense. Let me know what you think of these PS2 emulators on PS5 and PS4. And thanks for watching. If you made it this far, like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And I'll see you next time.